as South Africa seeks to unlock infrastructure-led growth, the nation's range of transport and mobility challenges that directly impact economic growth, urban development and citizen mobility have been highlighted. Industry stakeholders will soon come together to try formulate solutions at the 43rd Annual Southern African Transport Conference. To discuss this further, we're joined by Chairman of the SATC, Dr. Mathetha Mokonyama. A very good evening to you, Dr. Mokonyama. Thank you so much for joining us in studio.
Good evening. Good evening, Pa.
The SATC has always served as a forum to debate current transport-related issues. What are the sessions going to be focusing on as we consider the current climate when it comes to infrastructure issues that are of huge concern across the country?
There are three key things. One is around displaying new knowledge. Another one is around master classes, and another one case studies, so showcasing successes, lessons that could be learned from implementation of projects in South Africa, but also in the broader Southern Africa. So the 43 years of this conference means we've got 43 years of repository of information, how to do things. So there's no excuse that any municipality, province could say they have about how to build, how to maintain infrastructure.
So how to build, how to maintain, I mean, those are very, very important areas as we look to the current challenges that municipalities are experiencing. I mean, just looking at the service delivery issues and how they're affecting communities, what are you putting forward? What are you proposing as we look at the many case studies that we see on a day-to-day in the country?
So the first thing we'll say is that there are case studies that can be used to unlock service delivery challenges. So the parliamentarians that are there should be using these case studies to hold the executive to account. Often, at the beginning of any administration, you need to set up an agenda as a committee of transport.
Yes.
So the SATC could provide that information. This is what we know, and this is how then we can use this information to then, hold executives to account. Even in councils, in municipal councils, the same thing. But very important is also that we show every year that we don't have a problem of capacity. In fact, I think we have a problem of very good players in a team that are benched, and you tend to play players who may not be good enough for the game at play. We have players, and SATC every year shows that we have the capacity, intellectual capacity, but then also the technical know-how to be able to solve the problems that we have and the problems that we are likely to be having in the near future.
Are we talking about elements of corruption here? When you talk about a plan that's in place, the solutions are there, but there's failure to implement.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Auditor General's reports, do show that. And we show historically that there are three things that you need to get right. Key pillars for you to use transport as a lever to grow the economy. One is the institution, the maturity of the institution. So the things that we're talking about now, about how you deal with corruption, are key. The other thing is around the funding that you have, the nature of the funding, the timing of that funding. And the efficiency with which you implement, those are key. But then also very important is the environment, the area where you're investing. Is it growing? Because if you invest in an area that is dying, nothing's going to happen. So these things need to be implemented all together as a program, not in isolation.
As you talk about the nature of the funding, what role can public-private partnerships play in transport funding and implementation? I mean, we hear so much of how the public-private partnerships are key and central to growth and development.
Very, very important. South Africa is spending 40% more than it should as a society on transport. So we're 40% overweight. And the only way to address this at an accelerated pace is through innovation. So the private sector, through innovation, they can take that risk. They can invest in taking that risk to invest, to bring them to invest in order to reduce this fat, this 40%. So that's how I believe, we believe that the role of the private sector could be carved into accelerating development in the country.
In accelerating development, that in itself has a role to play in boosting the country's economy. But that in itself has many segments. As you speak about innovation, opportunities for business investment in road, rail, port and urban transport systems, where are the loopholes when it comes to ensuring that it's an ecosystem from the partnership to the small business to the community? Where are the loopholes?
Well, it all comes to leadership, right? We need to have leadership in our institutions that recognizes the complexity, of the system. If, for example, you have an MMC in a municipality who's just, chasing after operation A, B, tomorrow they wake up and they want to come up with something new. Yeah. So they need to recognize that, transport is a complex, system. And you need leadership that acknowledges and is able to juggle all these balls. So the capacity to juggle all these complexity balls is quite important for us to move forward. Yeah.
And what about mobility solutions and how much of a contribution they can have to South Africa's climate goals and the green job creation?
Maritime sector is becoming highly regulated now, especially with regard to environmental impact, the energy that you use. More and more business requires that maritime, 80% of trade is through maritime. So we have to be ready, for that. We need to make sure that our ports are ready. The bunkering, systems, the fuel, the supply systems are ready for that. So there's lots of opportunities for small business to be part of that value chain as we transform, as we make sure that we green our ports. We need to bring in, small business. Public transport. Half of the costs, fares that passengers pay, a lot of that goes to just fuel, to repaying fuel, and that fuel is imported from other countries. Yeah. So if we green our public transport system as a priority, we're able to then reduce half the cost of operational cost of public transport, taxi, fares, over a very short period of time, and that unlocks money for further investment in the economy. Yeah?
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us and joining us in studio there, wrapping up that conversation with Chairman of the SATC, Dr. Mathetha Mokonyama, speaking there about the 43rd Annual Southern Africa Transport Conference, which will be taking place.